just to give you a little bit of a background, we're in the beautiful county of Devon. We're one of the tertiary centres, and we receive patients from North Devon and from Torbay, and we also send patients to Plymouth. And I think that's a really important thing for us all to be aware of, because we no longer work in silos, and we need to use our cancer surveys results to understand that many of our patients are moving between providers. So that's a really important part of our work. Just to go, before I go down into the detail, just to give you some oversight, we are very fortunate at the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital. We've got an executive with a special interest in cancer. We therefore have a cancer board which has an executive on, has our local charities on, and we have our patient reps on. And I do think that really helps to keep the focus on the patient experience. We also, just to say, with our charities, we do have indeed worked with Macmillan, and they've helped pump prime some of our posts, but we are also in a very fortunate position where we have 3 charities on the site. So we have Force, and this is the piece of work we've done with Force. We have a dedicated cancer support building which is absolutely phenomenal for our patients, and it's just across from the oncology centre, so patients, relatives, etc. can use it, and indeed staff as well, we use it. And then we have ELF, which is our haematology, and then we have a hospice on site, which again is for end of life, not just cancer, but across the board. So that is a fortunate place to be in. Today, I just want to hone it down. Since 2010, like all of us, we've participated in the national survey. We have found it extremely beneficial. We obviously focus on the scoring metrics, but I think one of the other areas which is really important is the patient comments, the richness in there, and I think we mustn't forget that. Difficult to score, but the richness is phenomenal in there. And what we have done, we've always done fairly well in the study, but what we have done with Force, our provider, our local charity, is honed down where we weren't doing as well as we wanted to. So what I want to hone down on is how we use the national survey, but then what we did locally and how we also used it as in real time. Let's go to the next slide. So what we did was we focused on our finance, and we put it within our Living With and Beyond cancer programme. We're very fortunate, we've got nurse reps, allied health professional reps, we've got patient reps who run a lot of our activities within our Living With and Beyond programme, again in the Force building. And we actually worked with all the organisations to understand what is it we can educate our patients when they come into the service about actually the financial part of it, and that's the topic of my bit today. So we brought it all into the Living With and Beyond steering group. We involved our CNSs. I think all of us will say the CNSs are absolutely key to making this work. And we drilled down with our cancer survey data. We drilled that down with Force. And again, we do the results at our cancer board and indeed then the trust board. Do you want to move on? So again, working with Force, we developed our local holistic needs assessment tool based on all the national work programmes. But the reason we did it locally is because we get real-time feedback. Similar to the previous presentation, it's all done in iPads, all signed off by infection control. Very important in this climate at the moment. But what we did is we actually have a mechanism where we can download our iPads into a system, and actually on a monthly basis, and we can do it more frequently, but we tend to do it monthly, we can actually see what the themes of our patients, and we can actually drill it down to each cancer site, not just cancer in its entirety. And that has been really helpful to show us how we can use the national data, but how we can put it into real time and use it going forward. To go on to the next. So this is, everybody's got this, I'm showing, but this is it shows that, again, we can get that real local needs of our patients. Like everybody, we all have our own different challenges. We have a very rural population. We have some very hard to reach groups. So it's really important to us to have this live data so that we can work with people. Let's go to the next slide. So what we did, when we saw that we weren't doing perhaps as well as we wanted to with our financial data, and I will go on to say this is only one small component. We replicate this with many aspects we get from the cancer survey, but we're just focusing on finance today for this topic. But what we did, we upgraded our iPads so that actually on there people had immediate information about finance, about travel insurance, about what we can offer locally. And we also put up posters in our outpatients department. It's quite incredible. As CNS body, we believe we say about prescriptions to every cancer patient, but it's still not often heard. So it was important that we just reinforce the message. This was just two areas that we did. Go to the next slide. And you can see from our analysis that actually we, as indeed everybody, we offer at diagnosis and then we offer it at a second stage. And you can see that actually we improved by changing the way we delivered our financial, we improved the impact of the financial assessments. And you can also see from our data, and I apologise, it's got 2018 because we didn't have 19 at the time, but you can see that we are making a significant step in improvement with the hospital staff gave information on getting financial support, and the hospital staff told the patient about free prescription. One of the other things that I will just say as well is when we were doing some of this work, again with our patients, we have some phenomenal patients who run a lot of our programs, our Living With and Beyond program. Some of it was actually patients were too embarrassed to come forward to ask about finance. So actually trying to remove that barrier and make it as an everyday part of what we offer so that people don't feel embarrassed to go down into force and meet with people to go through their financial concerns. So let's go on to the next slide. So you will see that soon after diagnosis, this was just reinforcing the previous slide, that we had the concerns about finance, but towards the end of treatment, we found that we had remedied this. And again, this is the same group of patients results that we can see. And this is the wonderful thing about having that immediate access to our data. Let's go to the next slide. So as you can see that we improved our footfall in accessing financial services at Force. Oh, sorry, my computer's just about to time out. We increased the footfall of people in Force accessing financial services, as you can see, and that's fantastic. But the other thing it does, and I think this is the thing that's really important, all of these things have a spin-off. By having people, more and more people going to Force, actually people can see the wonderful things that Force can offer, from the non-complementary therapies to counselling, to support groups, to coffee mornings, to activities they do. So again, it's just reinforcing the message of actually working collaboratively together for our patients. Do you want to go on to the next slide? So the key learning point is, I definitely think the cancer survey data is incredibly useful as a benchmark for our service, and absolutely use that. But I champion every year not to forget the patient comments in our local trust, and I share the comments because I think the richness in there, and actually you pick up on a lot more than actually you do in the questions that fit into boxes at the beginning. We continue to work with our patient focus groups to develop local initiatives so we can get that instant feedback. Again, I've touched on this, signposting to our local charity. Our CNSs run some of the support groups with them jointly, some with patients, other times patients run them themselves. And the shared learning, we're very fortunate, as indeed everybody, we work in a Cancer Alliance, and going back to that point I said earlier, many of our patients move between providers. One patient can actually have their cancer treatment over 3 providers. So it's really important we share our results and we learn to work together to how we can improve them. So to the next slide. I think what makes us stand out, I think we're very fortunate indeed to have the partnership working. We're very fortunate to have had Macmillan who helped prime things in the beginning. I think having the patients drive things forward, actually having an executive, I can't express enough how important that is with a special interest in cancer, that we do have those opportunities to have the cancer board and go to the trust board. The other thing that we are also doing is a lot of what we've done in cancer, this can be replicated in any long-term conditions. So that is another piece of work that we have actually given a lot of this information, and indeed my project lead is helping in respiratory at the moment to see if we can help their group of patients. So our future is to continue our focus groups. We find these invaluable. We used to have a static, what we called user group, that was the same group of patients that they actually, now what we find, it's actually more beneficial to have a moving group. So we have a focus group, whether we're targeting colorectal, head and neck, etc. And that's been really helpful. Definitely continue to map, against the results. We are also in a fortunate position that we're just about to do some work collaboratively with NHS Improvement around our cancer survey. Absolutely collaboration with our local voluntary sectors and that instant feedback, and to continue to develop our personalised care and support. That's me. Thank you very much for your time.